the Serengeti Plains. The first light spread slowly across the dry savanna, washing the land in pale gold. Overnight winds have flattened the brittle grasses, leaving faint shifting patterns across the open plains. In the distance, a cluster of acacia trees breaks the horizon, their twisted branches motionless in the cool morning air. The night chorus of insects is fading now, replaced by the quiet calls of awakening birds. A herd of Thompson's gazelles grazes cautiously near a shallow depression where a little moisture still clings to the soil. Their heads dip and rise in constant rhythm, ears flicking toward every distant sound. The dry season has thinned the vegetation, leaving fewer places to hide and fewer chances to escape unseen danger. Yet one predator has mastered this openness. Hidden within a patch of tall grass lies a leopard, almost invisible despite its size. Its rosette-patterned coat blends perfectly with the dappled light and shadow of the savanna. The animal is perfectly still, its breathing slow and controlled. Only its eyes betray life, fixed unblinking on the grazing herd. For minutes, sometimes hours, it will remain this way. In the world of stealth hunters, patience is not merely a tactic. It is survival itself. The animal lying hidden in the tall grass belongs to one of the most adaptable predators on Earth, the leopard, scientifically known as Panthera pardus. It is a member of the big cat lineage within the genus Panthera, which also includes lions, tigers, jaguars, and snow leopards. Among them, the leopard is perhaps the most geographically flexible species. Its historical range once stretched across most of Africa, through the Middle East, across the Indian subcontinent, and into large parts of East and Southeast Asia. Few large carnivores have occupied such a broad ecological spectrum. Physically, the leopard is built for balance rather than extremes. Adult males in African populations typically weigh between 50 and 90 kilograms, though individuals can exceed this under favorable conditions. Females are smaller, often between 30 and 60 kilograms. Unlike the lion's heavy frame or the cheetah's streamlined sprinting body, the leopard possesses a muscular but compact build that allows both explosive strength and remarkable agility. Its coat pattern, golden or pale yellow marked with dark rosettes, is not merely decorative. These irregular shapes break up the cat's outline against vegetation, creating a natural camouflage system that works in forests, grasslands, rocky hills, and riverine woodland. Studies of predator-prey visual detection show that the rosette pattern significantly reduces the chance of being noticed by herbivores at moderate distances, especially under shifting light conditions such as dawn or dusk. But camouflage alone does not define the leopard's success. Its behavioral flexibility is equally critical. Leopards are primarily solitary animals. Unlike lions, which form complex social groups called prides, or cheetahs, where male coalitions sometimes hunt cooperatively, the leopard relies almost entirely on individual strategy. Each adult maintains its own territory, which can vary dramatically in size depending on prey availability and habitat type. In prey-rich environments like parts of Serengeti or Kruger ecosystems, a female's territory may cover only 15 to 30 square kilometers. In harsher landscapes, arid regions, or mountainous terrain, territories can expand far beyond that. Within these territories, leopards follow an opportunistic feeding strategy. More than 90 different prey species have been recorded in their diet across Africa and Asia. This includes small mammals such as hares and rodents, medium-sized ungulates like gazelles and impalas, and occasionally larger animals, including young antelope or even small livestock in areas where human settlements overlap with wild habitats. What distinguishes a leopard from many other predators is its willingness to adjust its hunting style depending on circumstance. It can stalk through dense woodland, ambush from rocky ledges, creep silently along riverbanks, or even drop from tree branches onto prey below. In some forests of Southeast Asia, leopards have been observed hunting macaques by climbing into the canopy and wading along travel routes used by primates. This flexibility reflects an evolutionary history shaped by constant competition. Across much of its range, the leopard shares habitat with other powerful carnivores: lions, hyenas, wild dogs, and sometimes tigers. In these environments, survival does not depend solely on hunting skill. It also depends on avoiding conflict with animals that can overpower it. Field research in African ecosystems has shown that leopards frequently lose kills to larger predators. Lions and spotted hyenas are particularly effective at stealing carcasses. In response, leopards evolved a behavior that has become one of their defining traits: the ability to drag prey up into trees. Even animals heavier than the leopard itself can sometimes be hauled several meters above the ground using sheer jaw strength and forelimb power. Once suspended in branches, the carcass becomes far less accessible to scavengers that cannot climb. This strategy allows the leopard to feed slowly over several days, conserving precious energy in an environment where every hunt carries risk. Hunting success rates among solitary predators are often lower than people imagine. Studies tracking leopard hunting attempts suggest that only around 1 in 3 stalks ends with successful capture. Many attempts fail before the final charge even begins, when prey detect the approaching predator through subtle movement or scent carried by the wind. Because of this, patience becomes the leopard's most valuable asset. Rather than chasing prey across open ground, it relies on closing the distance silently until a final explosive burst of speed. The entire attack may last less than 5 seconds. In those few seconds, millions of years of evolutionary refinement come into play. Camouflage, muscle coordination, sensory precision, and timing shaped by countless generations of survival on landscapes where every mistake carries consequences. Over millions of years, the evolutionary path of the leopard has been shaped by environments that reward caution, adaptability, and efficiency. Fossil evidence suggests that early members of the genus Panthera emerged roughly 2 to 3 million years ago, spreading across Eurasia before some populations expanded into Africa. As climates shifted and ecosystems transformed, from forest to open savannas and mountainous terrain, the leopard evolved into one of the most versatile predators among large cats. Unlike specialists such as a cheetah, which relies heavily on open plains and speed, the leopard thrives in ecological diversity. Today it occupies habitats ranging from tropical rainforests and dry savannas to semi-deserts and mountainous landscapes over 3,000 meters above sea level. This extraordinary range has been confirmed through ecological surveys and camera trap studies conducted across Africa and Asia. Few large carnivores maintain viable populations in such dramatically different environments. The leopard's sensory abilities play a crucial role in this adaptability. Its vision is particularly effective in low-light conditions. Like most nocturnal and crepuscular predators, the leopard's eyes contain a reflective layer known as a tapetum lucidum, which amplifies available light and allows the animal to detect movement in near darkness. This adaptation makes dawn, dusk, and night the most productive hunting periods. Its hearing is equally refined. The rounded ears can rotate independently, allowing the cat to triangulate faint sounds made by prey moving through grass or brush. Even subtle disturbances, such as a hoof brushing against dry stems, can provide valuable information about the position of an animal hidden from view. Scent also plays an important role, though less in hunting and more in territorial communication. Leopards mark their ranges through scent spraying, scratch marks on tree trunks, and scat placed along travel routes. These signals help neighboring leopards avoid unnecessary confrontation by identifying territory boundaries. Territorial spacing is essential because solitary predators must ensure enough prey within their range to survive. Scientific tracking studies using GPS collars have shown that leopards follow well-established routes within their territories. These pathways often connect water sources, shaded resting areas, and high-visibility vantage points, such as rocky ridges or large trees. From these vantage points, a leopard can quietly observe the movements of potential prey. Prey availability strongly shapes leopard behavior. In African savannas, common targets include impalas, bushbuck, duikers, warthogs, and gazelles. In forest environments, the menu changes. Small antelope, monkeys, and even ground-dwelling birds may become primary food sources. This dietary flexibility reduces dependence on any single prey species, increasing resilience when environmental conditions change. Yet despite this versatility, life for a leopard remains precarious. Competition with other predators creates constant pressure. Lions represent one of the greatest threats in many African ecosystems. Although lions rarely hunt leopards directly, encounters can be fatal if the smaller cat cannot escape quickly. Hyenas also pose a risk, particularly when they locate a fresh kill. These competitive pressures have shaped several of the leopard's most distinctive survival strategies. One of the most remarkable is its climbing ability. Leopards possess powerful forelimbs and flexible shoulder joints that allow them to scale trees with impressive speed. Their retractable claws provide strong grip on bark, while a long tail helps maintain balance when navigating narrow branches. Researchers studying leopard feeding behavior have documented individuals hauling carcasses weighing more than their own body mass into trees, a feat rarely matched by other large predators. This vertical escape strategy transforms trees into secure dining platforms. Once the prey is suspended above ground, lions and hyenas are largely excluded from the meal. Over the next several days, the leopard can return repeatedly to feed, minimizing the need for additional hunts. Energy conservation is critical in predator ecology. Every hunt demands effort, and failure means lost calories. For solitary hunters like the leopard, maintaining a balance between energy spent and energy gained determines long-term survival. Reproduction adds another layer of challenge. Female leopards typically give birth to litters of 2 or 3 cubs after a gestation period of about 90 days. Cubs are born blind and extremely vulnerable. For the first weeks, they remain hidden in dense vegetation, rocky crevices, or hollow tree trunks while a mother hunts nearby. Raising cubs requires careful risk management. A mother must hunt frequently enough to feed both herself and her young, while avoiding predators that could kill the cubs. Studies in African reserves show that cub mortality can be high, often due to lions, hyenas, or even male leopards competing for territory. Yet despite these challenges, the leopard persists across landscapes where other large carnivores have disappeared. Its strength lies not in dominance, but in restraint, an evolutionary strategy built on patience, stealth, and the ability to adapt quietly to the shifting conditions of the wild. In the quiet balance of savanna, survival for a leopard is defined by precision rather than force. Every movement is calculated, every moment measured against the risk of failure. The leopard does not dominate the landscape through numbers or speed alone. Instead, its survival depends on a combination of biology, instinct, and behavioral flexibility shaped by millions of years of evolution. The first angle of its survival strategy is stealth hunting, a technique built on concealment and patience. Unlike predators that rely on long pursuits, the leopard closes a distance before the prey even realizes danger exists. Research on stalking behavior shows that leopards often reduce the gap to less than 10 meters before launching an attack. This requires extraordinary control of movement. The cat advances slowly, placing each paw carefully to avoid snapping dry twigs or disturbing loose soil. Even the position of the wind becomes critical. Approaching from downwind prevents scent from reaching the prey's sensitive nose. The final sprint lasts only a few seconds. Powerful hind legs propel the leopard forward in a sudden burst, while the forelimbs hook around the prey's body. The kill is usually delivered with a suffocating throat bite, clamping the windpipe and restricting blood flow to the brain. It is a method refined for efficiency, minimizing injury to the predator while ending the struggle quickly. Another defining angle of leopard behavior lies in its remarkable physical strength relative to body size. Though smaller than lions or tigers, the leopard's muscular build gives extraordinary lifting capability. Field observations have recorded individuals dragging antelope weighing more than 80 kilograms into trees. The behavior serves a clear ecological function. On the ground, a carcass quickly attracts scavengers, hyenas, jackals, and vultures that gather rapidly once the scent of blood spreads across the plains. By lifting prey into branches, the leopard creates a temporary refuge where it can feed without immediate competition. This vertical dimension of the hunt transforms trees into safe storage sites, allowing the predator to stretch a single successful kill over several days. Such efficiency is essential in an environment where hunting attempts frequently fail. A third perspective reveals the leopard as a master of environmental adaptability. Unlike many large carnivores whose survival depends on specific habitats, the leopard moves fluidly between ecosystems. In African savannas, it stalks through tall grass. In dense forests, it navigates tangled undergrowth with equal skill. In mountainous terrain, it hunts among rocky slopes where camouflage merges with stone and shadow. Scientific surveys have documented leopards living in deserts where daytime temperatures exceed 40 degrees Celsius, as well as in cold highlands where winter snow covers the ground. This adaptability is not merely physical, but behavioral. Activity patterns shift depending on local pressures. In areas with intense human presence, Leopards may become almost entirely nocturnal, emerging only under cover of darkness to avoid detection. A final angle lies in the leopard's solitary existence, a lifestyle that shapes every aspect of its behavior. Unlike lions that cooperate within prides, the leopard hunts, feeds, and survives alone. Solitude reduces competition for food, but places full responsibility for survival on a single animal. Territory becomes a lifeline. Through scent marks and scratch patterns on tree bark, leopards communicate their presence to others of their kind. These invisible boundaries reduce violent encounters that could lead to injury. Within this private landscape, the leopard moves along familiar routes, silent pathways connecting water sources, resting sites, and hunting grounds. Every detail of the terrain becomes part of the predator's memory. In this quiet, calculated existence, the leopard reveals a different form of power, one built not on confrontation, but on patience, precision, and the ability to remain unseen until a decisive moment arrives. Another dimension of the leopard's survival lies in its cognitive flexibility and instinctive decision-making. Although it does not possess the cooperative intelligence seen in highly social predators, the leopard demonstrates an ability to evaluate risk and opportunity with remarkable precision. Field observations show that leopards frequently abandon a stalk long before the final attack if conditions shift unfavorably. A sudden change in wind direction, the alert posture of a grazing antelope, or the distant presence of rival predators may cause the cat to freeze or quietly withdraw. This restraint reflects an important biological reality. Injury for a solitary hunter can mean starvation, without companions to help secure food. Even a minor wound may prevent effective hunting. As a result, the leopard's instincts favor caution. It chooses battles carefully, striking only when the probability of success outweighs the danger. A further angle emerges in the relationship between predator and prey awareness. On the African plains, herbivores have evolved sophisticated detection systems to survive constant predation. Gazelles, impalas, and other antelope species rely on wide visual fields, rapid acceleration, and social vigilance. Many individuals graze in loosely organized groups, allowing multiple animals to scan the surroundings simultaneously. The leopard must overcome this collective awareness through patience and terrain advantage. Tall grass, uneven ground, or scattered shrubs create brief moments of concealment. When a grazing animal lowers its head, its field of vision narrows. These short lapses become opportunities for the predator. The balance between hunter and prey is therefore shaped not by simple strength, but by a dynamic contest of perception, timing, and environmental complexity. A third angle appears in the leopard's reproductive strategy and parental investment. Unlike herd animals that rely on group protection for their young, leopard cubs are raised in secrecy. After giving birth, a female selects hidden dens in rocky crevices, dense vegetation, or hollow logs. For the first several weeks, the cubs remain concealed while the mother hunts alone. During this period, she must travel carefully between hunting grounds and the den site, ensuring that larger predators do not detect the location. Scientific observations have shown that mothers frequently move cubs to new hiding places every few days to reduce the chance of discovery. When the cubs grow strong enough to follow, they begin learning essential survival skills, stalking, climbing, and recognizing potential threats. This early training period can last up to 2 years, during which the cubs gradually transition from dependence to independence. Finally, the leopard's existence reflects the moral neutrality of natural ecosystems. Predation in the wild does not carry intention or cruelty in the human sense. It is a biological process that maintains balance within the food web. By removing weaker or less alert individuals from prey populations, predators contribute to the long-term health of herbivore herds. Ecological research across African reserves shows that large carnivores help regulate grazing pressure, preventing overuse of vegetation that would otherwise degrade the landscape. In this system, the leopard occupies a crucial but often overlooked role. It hunts alone, quietly shaping the structure of prey populations without the dramatic visibility of lions or packs of wild dogs. In this way, the leopard's life unfolds largely unnoticed across vast landscapes. Its presence is revealed not through dominance or spectacle, but through the subtle traces it leaves behind. Tracks in soft soil, claw marks on tree bark, and the sudden silence that falls over grazing herds when instinct senses a hidden predator nearby. Morning advances slowly across the savanna. The rising sun lifts above the horizon, turning the dry grass a brighter shade of gold. Shadows shrink as the heat begins to build, and the grazing herds gradually spread farther across the open plain. For the leopard hidden in the grass, the changing light narrows the window of opportunity. As daylight strengthens, concealment becomes more difficult, yet the predator does not move. For nearly an hour it has remained in the same position, body pressed flat against the ground. Patience is a central principle of leopard hunting. Research in African reserves shows that many hunts are abandoned not because prey escaped, but because the predator refuses to attack until the conditions are exact. The herd of Thompson's gazelles continues feeding along the shallow depression. Most are adults, alert and agile, capable of explosive bursts of speed that can exceed 80 kilometers per hour. Attempting to chase one in open ground would almost certainly fail. Instead, the leopard watches for a moment of separation. Gradually, one appears. A younger gazelle drifts several meters away from the others, drawn toward a patch of greener shoots growing near a cluster of low shrubs. Its head lowers repeatedly to crop the tender stems, and for brief seconds its eyes focus on the ground instead of the horizon. The leopard begins to move. Each step is almost imperceptible. The cat's belly remains close to the earth, its shoulders rising and falling slowly as it inches forward. The rosette pattern of its coat dissolves into the shifting texture of grass and shadow. Even at close range, the predator becomes difficult to distinguish from the landscape. 10 meters closer, the wind still blows gently toward the leopard, carrying the scent of gazelles but not returning the predator's own odor. For prey animals, scent is often the first warning of danger. Without it, the gazelle relies entirely on sight and hearing. 5 meters closer, the leopard pauses again. The gazelle lifts its head briefly, chewing slowly while scanning the open plain. For several long seconds the animal remains still, ears pointed forward, body tense. The leopard freezes, muscles lock in place, its body becoming as motionless as the grass itself. Even breathing seems to disappear. This moment, often lasting less than half a minute, can determine the outcome of the hunt. The gazelle lowers its head again. In the next instant, the silence of the savanna shatters. The leopard launches forward with explosive force, hind legs driving against the ground in a powerful surge. Grass bends and scatters beneath its weight as the distance closes in a blur of motion. The gazelle reacts instantly, springing upward in a burst of speed, legs stretching into a full sprint across the open ground. For a brief moment, predator and prey run side by side in a desperate race measured in seconds. The leopard's forelimbs extend, claws unsheathed. Contact. Its weight collides with the gazelle's hindquarters, twisting the smaller animal off balance. Dust erupts as both bodies crash into the grass. The gazelle struggles violently, kicking and thrashing in an attempt to break free. But the leopard's jaws have already found the throat. Powerful teeth clamp around the windpipe, while the cat braces its body against the ground. The struggle continues for several seconds, hooves striking the air, muscles straining in panic, until the pressure on the throat slowly cuts off oxygen to the brain. Gradually, the movement stops. The leopard releases its grip and steps back slightly, chest rising with controlled breaths. Around them, the rest of the herd has already vanished into the distance, their hooves fading across the dry plains. The hunt is over, but survival in this landscape does not end with the kill. For a few moments after the struggle ends, the savanna returns to a quiet stillness. The leopard stands beside the fallen gazelle, sides rising and falling as it recovers from the burst of effort. Though the chase lasted only seconds, the surge of speed and strength demands energy that must be quickly regained. The predator lowers its head briefly, ears rotating in slow circles as it listens to the surrounding grassland. A successful hunt does not mean safety. The scent of blood already begins to spread across the warm air. In the open plains of East Africa, such signals rarely remain unnoticed for long. Scavengers possess remarkable abilities to detect carcasses over great distances. Vultures circling high above the savanna scan constantly for signs of feeding animals below. Jackals move quietly along the edges of grazing herds, ready to investigate any sudden disturbance. Farther away, spotted hyenas travel across vast territories, guided as much by scent as by sound. For the leopard, time is limited. The cat grips the gazelle's neck firmly between its jaws and begins to drag the carcass toward a nearby cluster of acacia trees. The prey weighs nearly as much as a hunter itself, and every meter requires effort. Muscles tighten across the leopard's shoulders and forelimbs as it pulls the body through dry grass, pausing occasionally to listen for approaching competitors. Dragging prey is an essential phase of leopard survival. Unlike lions that feed immediately beside the kill, leopards often relocate their carcasses to safer locations. The goal is not simply to hide the prey, but to move it away from open ground where scavengers can easily gather. The acacia tree stands slightly apart from the surrounding grassland, its trunk thick and bark deeply grooved by age. The leopard pauses beneath it, scanning the horizon one more time. No hyenas appear yet. No circling vultures have begun to descend. Working quickly, the cat begins the next stage. With powerful jaws locked around a gazelle's neck, the leopard rears upward and grips the rough bark with its foreclaws. The movement is slow but controlled. Inch by inch, the predator hauls both its own weight and a heavy carcass up the trunk. Hind legs push against the bark while the tail swings slightly for balance. The climb is one of the most demanding feats in the leopard's behavioral repertoire. Few large carnivores possess the combination of strength and climbing ability required to lift prey vertically into the canopy. Yet this strategy has evolved as one of the leopard's most reliable defenses against scavengers. After several seconds of careful effort, the cat reaches a broad horizontal branch nearly 4 meters above the ground. The gazelle's body is maneuvered across the limb, its legs hanging loosely on either side while the leopard adjusts its position. Only then does the predator finally begin to feed. Sharp carnassial teeth slice through the hide with practiced efficiency. The first mouthfuls focus on softer tissue of the abdomen, where access to muscle and organs is easiest. Feeding begins quickly, not out of panic, but out of instinct shaped by generations of competition. Below the tree, the savanna continues its quiet rhythm. Insects move through the grass. Distant antelope graze cautiously farther across the plain. But the scent of the kill now spreads steadily through the warming air. Before long, other animals will notice, and the leopard's solitary victory may yet be challenged by the restless scavengers of the wild. The sun climbs higher, casting a harsh light across the Serengeti. The leopard remains in the acacia tree, crouched beside its secured kill. Feeding continues intermittently, the predator pausing to listen and watch for signs of competition. Though the gazelle now hangs suspended, the surrounding ecosystem remains alert. Hyenas, ever opportunistic, begin moving closer, alerted by the faint scent that drifts across the plains. Their calls carry faintly on the wind, a distant but unmistakable signal that the predator's meal may not remain uncontested. Energy conservation shapes the leopard's behavior at this stage. Observational studies indicate that leopards consume their prey slowly, feeding in intervals over several hours or even days. By eating gradually, they minimize exposure to danger while maximizing caloric intake. The cat alternates between feeding and scanning the horizon, ears twitching to detect any approaching threat. Its muscles remain coiled, ready to respond if confrontation becomes necessary. Meanwhile, the physical toll of the hunt begins to register. The leopard's body shows the exertion of the previous chase and climb. Subtle tremors in its limbs, labored breaths, and a sheen of sweat along the neck and flanks. In solitary predators, even a single hunting effort carries measurable energy cost, and studies in African ecosystems suggest that an unsuccessful hunt can require the predator to rest for hours before attempting another. In this case, the leopard has succeeded, but vigilance remains essential. The presence of scavengers is more than a simple nuisance. Spotted hyenas, in particular, exert pressure that shapes leopard behavior and territory use. Field researchers have recorded leopards abandoning partially eaten kills in the face of approaching hyena clans, even when the prey represents hours of effort. The leopard solution, storing food in trees, is a direct adaptation to this challenge. Yet no strategy is foolproof. Juvenile hyenas, aided by adults, may attempt to climb, and strong individuals can reach lower branches. The predator must balance feeding with defensive awareness, a mental calculation repeated countless times in its life. Beyond immediate threats, the act of hunting and feeding contributes to the ecological balance of the region. By removing vulnerable individuals from prey populations, young, old, or sick, leopards influence herd dynamics. Such predation indirectly shapes vegetation patterns, as healthier, more agile herbivores exert different grazing pressures than weaker ones. Research across African savannas has highlighted this subtle influence. Predators act as regulators, not simply consumers, maintaining equilibrium that supports both flora and fauna. As the day progresses, the leopard pauses between meals to rest along a sturdy branch. Its eyes close briefly, yet attention never fully diminishes. Every sound, every flicker of movement in the grass below is recorded and processed. The predator's solitude reinforces both vulnerability and autonomy. Unlike social hunters, it cannot rely on others to defend its meal. Each survival choice, each movement, carries weight. As the afternoon unfolds, the leopard's vigilance remains constant. Shadows lengthen across the grasslands, and the air grows warmer, carrying faint scents of distant water and roaming herbivores. The gazelle carcass, now partially consumed, continues to sustain the predator. By feeding in the tree, the leopard has minimized loss to scavengers, but remains acutely aware that each hour brings new threats. Observations from African wildlife reserves note that leopards often abandon a kill if prolonged exposure attracts persistent hyenas, or even large birds of prey, demonstrating the delicate calculus of solitary survival. The physical consequences of the hunt begin to fade gradually, replaced by the slow replenishment of energy. Muscles that strain during the sprint and the vertical haul relax in measured intervals of rest. Yet even as the leopard rests, the environment imposes limits. Heat from the late afternoon sun increases water loss, making hydration a growing concern. In arid habitats, this necessity can dictate movement patterns, influencing where and when the predator chooses to hunt or rest. Beyond the individual, the aftermath of the hunt has ecological implications. By removing a single gazelle from the herd, the leopard subtly affects group dynamics. Behavioral studies show that surviving members of the herd often adjust their grazing patterns, choosing more covered areas or remaining closer to vigilant companions. These ripple effects, though minute in scale, contribute to broader mosaic of the savanna ecosystem. Predation is not merely an act of consumption. It shapes the interactions, distributions, and survival strategies of other species. The cubs, if present, would now be indirectly affected. Female leopards with young remain especially cautious after hunts, balancing feeding with protection of vulnerable offspring. Although the scenario depicts a solitary adult male, such feeding events echo across generations. Hunting success ensures potential mating opportunities, energy for territorial defense, and in females, nourishment to sustain nursing cubs. Survival, in this sense, encompasses more than immediate consumption. It influences reproduction, territory maintenance, and long-term fitness. By evening, the tree becomes a temporary sanctuary. The leopard moves along its branches, occasionally repositioning the remaining meat. Beneath, the savanna hums with the movements of smaller mammals, insects, and birds. Distant predators stir, scanning for weaknesses in the fabric of the ecosystem. Each creature responds to the presence of the other, a constant negotiation between predator and prey, strength and opportunity, vigilance and chance. The kill will eventually be depleted. New hunts will follow. The cycle of energy transfer, risk, and survival continues, as it has for millennia. In this quiet, measured aftermath, the leopard's existence illustrates the fragile balance inherent in nature, a life dictated not by morality or choice, but by necessity, instinct, and the relentless pressures of competitive, indifferent environment. The sun dips below the horizon, casting long shadows across the Serengeti. In the fading light, the leopard rests quietly on its branch, muscles relaxed yet ever alert. Its eyes, reflecting the final glow of day, survey a world governed by cycles far older than any single life. Each hunt, each calculated movement, each survival choice is part of an enduring rhythm that neither pauses nor judges. Nature is indifferent. There is no triumph, no cruelty, no intention beyond existence itself. The gazelle that fell, the leopard that fed, the hyenas that circled, all participate in a continuum of energy, opportunity, and adaptation. Life persists not through morality, but through endurance, precision, and the constant negotiation between risk and reward. In this quiet moment, the leopard embodies the essence of survival. Its story is not one of heroism, but of persistence. It is a testament to the subtle intelligence embedded in instinct, the elegance of efficiency in motion, and the balance maintained across generations of predator and prey. The plains will continue to shift, the herds will graze, and the leopards will hunt again. Yet in each cycle, the same principles endure: patience, adaptability, and the silent, unyielding pulse of life in the wild. Here, in the calm after the hunt, the observer is left with profound awareness. Survival is neither sentimental nor dramatic. It is exacting, relentless, and beautifully impartial. A story written in the movements of muscles, the flick of ears, and the quiet persistence of life itself.